Following the events of Problem Child 1, we have Problem Child 2, taking place a year later in 1991, and it's directed by Brian Levant, who also doesn't have a really good track record with films. In fact, Brian Levant's track record is probably even worse than Dennis Dugan's, who directed the previous Problem Child flick. Now, the weird thing is, okay, neither Problem Child movie is truly good, but this one, you can actually see them trying to make something somewhat enjoyable. With the other one, it seemed like they didn't care about any of the characters. They hated everyone, and they wanted the audience to hate everyone equally. But the way that Problem Child 2 works out, it's simply a much more of an enjoyable experience. And that gap is it's not that big, but it's big enough where I simply like this one more. And yeah, as I said in the Problem Child 1 review, that I do have fond memories attached to both Problem Child flicks, so I don't think I'll ever be able to truly bash the hell out of either film. But the way that stands, I am going to. I actually like Problem Child 2. Like, I can honestly say that I like it. And there's really no big deal about it. So, there's a few unanswered questions about Problem Child 1 that comes into play here, like the fallout between Ben Healy, who's John Ritter, and his wife, who's played by Amy Asbeck. But that's okay. We don't care about. We just infer. So, what's the movie about? Junior and Ben move out of their small town and they head across the country to this place called Mortville, which is supposedly called the divorcee capital of the world. Now, this is back in 1991. The divorce rates have skyrocketed since then. Now, now Ben and Junior, they love each other dearly. I mean, Junior finally has someone that loves him and he loves, and it's the same thing for Ben. It's really unconditional. The father son dynamic here is stronger than what was presented in Problem Child 1. So that's one of the big steps up in this one as opposed to the previous. Junior does pull pranks and does do some bad habits, but it's a really nothing big. It's like yeah, Ben can give him a slap on the wrist, but it's a really nothing big. It's really nothing big like what was presented in the first one. So when they moved to the divorcee capital of the world, Ben, who is now single, wants to find a new wife, give Junior a mother, find that missing piece of the puzzle for their family. Junior really doesn't like that, and so he pulls pranks in order to scare the women away. He loves it being just him and his dad, but Ben really wants a wife and for Junior to have a mother. Now, you have someone like John Ritter who was a total pretty boy back in the day. Like when he did Three's Company, and he would always go on. He was a swinging bachelor on Three's Company, and in Problem Child 2, he's also a total ladies' man in it. So yeah, some of the dates that Junior messes up, it's pretty funny stuff, and kind of ruining their living arrangement is when Jack Warden comes, who plays John Ritter's father in it. he moves in because his store went under and his election went under, and so yeah, he moves in with them. And Junior and Ben totally hate it, but the way that the clashing between them all happens, it's pretty funny stuff. So when when they move there, Junior becomes rivals with this little girl named Trixie, who she's younger than Junior, but she is just as vicious. She's an even bigger troublemaker than Junior is. And we saw like earlier in the film, like we see in this film and in Problem Child 1 just how vile Junior can be. But yeah, there's no beating Trixie. Um, so in the film, after Ben goes on some dates, he meets the junior school nurse, who's also played by Amy Asbeck. Her name is Annie, and she's loving and caring, and Ben really takes liking to her. And around that same time, there's this really rich woman in Morphville, who's played by Lorraine Newman from Saturday Night Live, and she's a Southern belle, and she has this really corny accent, but I always laugh at it. I think it's kind of funny. She desperately wants to marry Ben and send Junior away to boarding school. She's a very cruel woman, but the character of see Laurie Newman's character in this is better than all of the cruel characters in the first Problem Child movie. In this one, she's more flamboyant and she's simply more of an interesting character than all were in Problem Child 1. And that's ultimately what was needed for each of these unlikable characters to be good, was for there to be more spunk and pizzazz and interest. We're not rooting for this Laurie Newman character. We just simply want to be entertained by her, because this isn't a preachy lecture sort of a movie. It's a simple entertainment. It's a brainless comedy. So, why not have some spunk and pizzazz in some of these unlikable characters? I'm not praising anybody that's obnoxious, but yeah, this Laurie Newman character she's not obnoxious like the characters in the previous film. Nobody is, which is good. So yeah, when Ben eventually surrenders, he doesn't really surrender to Newman's character. He just accepts her, and so Junior tries to pull off as many pranks as he can in order to save his father from marrying a cruel woman. And he eventually becomes friends with Trixie, and yeah, it's a very fine. Well, not very fine. It's an enjoyable movie. It's not supposed to be anything big. It's not anything that if you want to lose sleep over. But you know, for something from 1991, it has aged well. It has gotten better over the years. Like hindsight's always 2020. But in this case, we have something that was not praised back then, but you watch it now and you think that wasn't too bad. It wasn't amazing by any means, but I got through it no problem. And frankly, that's how I feel with this. Got through it no problem. Didn't have yeah, there were a few complaints, but just because it simply isn't an amazing film. But yeah, minor complaints. So yeah, I'm gonna give this film 3 stars.